I don't even remember. I don't.
We're back. I didn't see they go. I didn't see any message or nothing. So I don't know if it was. I actually just looked to see if how many viewers we had, and there was no viewer count. That's how I noticed. So I don't know if it had something to do with when Nick jumped out or what.
Yeah, maybe if
I'll
he was
ask.
hosting it. Like, yeah, maybe if he was.
Well, he
hosting it or
wasn't.
something.
He wasn't. But that's all right. What were you saying, Michael?
You're talking about how you read a lot of books in Liechtenstein, and oh, you're muted. I think you're muted, buddy.
Sorry. Yeah, Heraclitus said that the only thing we can know as objective truth is that change keeps occurring.
Right.
He didn't even believe in the atom. He said, yeah, to split that atom, you'll find some more fucking microatoms and that shit. All we know is that time and change keeps occurring.
Right. The only constant is change.
Everything else is up for grabs. By the way, the other constant is Stacks up yet? I saw the testnet was down.
Question.
What's going on?
Oh, the testnet. Last I saw, testnet was down for like 5 days now.
You guys know anything about that?
I don't know anything about it because I'm trying to be off.
Yeah.
Oh shit! You were the only one holding up the Stacks testnet. Is that what you're saying?
I have nothing to do with it, but maybe.
Right?
You know, I don't know.
Imagine you were like the proxy.
I'm gonna do my 1 hour into the stream restream.
Yeah.
Bull hit.
All right.
Anyone wants to join me? We're gonna do it.
Yeah. I have mine in the other room. Hold on.
Yours is in the other room.
Place. You hurry up.
I'm back with lesser chem.
I like it. All right, let me follow suit with peace. I'll be right back.
So what did I miss?
Michael reads books. That's what I got.
Books.
Michael reads books.
Remember, wrote what they said.
You know, just for 2025, I think it will be a mind-blowing, amazing year. I think so much will change, and I think people, the normies, the no-coiners, the misinformed, they will have a very, 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 very difficult time to cope because their whole paradigm will be shattered, like, completely blown to bits. And it will be interesting to see how they will cope. I think they will be coping by not coping, and that's why
a lot of them will cope by buying shit coins, hoping it's the next Bitcoin.
That's one way of coping, but I think the other way of coping is basically what I said before. It's like, I think there will be a clash because their worldview will be shattered. They won't be able to deal with that reality, right? They basically they can't deal with reality. So if you can't deal with reality, what do? You'll find a scapegoat and tear it to pieces.
I think that people with no Bitcoin, their world will largely remain the same as it is now.
Yeah.
They just won't have the same advantage. It's the same thing as, so when they were giving land away and all you had to do was go and take it and settle on it, the people that didn't go take and settle their land, they didn't become landowners. And not all of those people that did settle land actually have generational wealth because they maybe didn't keep it or manage it right, but they had more of an opportunity for generational wealth than the people that didn't actually go take the land.
Yeah, no, I mean, over the long term or long to medium term, I completely agree with you. That will happen, but in the very short term, like, I mean, the coming year, I think I think the people who were not properly, not wisely invested, not properly positioned, the people who sort of followed the crowd, the lemmings, they are sort of in the grip of the mainstream media, and the mainstream media will paint Trump, Elon, us as the evil people who are ruining the world, and then they will misdirect those people to hate us. I think that will be the next step. I mean that's the obvious next step in order to also to keep their grip on the escalating situation. I mean, they're losing their grip, so they're trying to get their grip back on the situation. That's the only way for them to get their grip back.
Yeah, I was thinking in the other room. I wonder how many of these polarities are. If there's any other like truth that we know in the universe, it's that change occurs, and that polarities exist and are in fact creative. So I was just thinking in the other room, I wonder how much of these polarizing opinions are naturally occurring phenomena and will exist in any civilization, no matter what state they're in. And actually, sometimes polarizing situations are safer than if everyone agrees. Because some of the worst things that happen in civilization is when everyone agrees. Yeah.
True. Yeah, but I think one of the benefits of Western civilization so far. I mean, it has disappeared. But what has gotten us this far is
Has it disappeared already, you think?
Well, there's still a smidgen around, but was that you got these different kind of groups with different kind of opinions, but they were allowed to sort of battle on the front of ideas with each other. And then
the opportunity for social mobility is definitely higher than a caste system. I should know.
yeah, but we're turning into a caste system, so voluntarily.
Make America Indian again is their plan, huh?
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, I do like Indian culture. So.
Yeah. No, but you can see this it's not even manufactured dissent. It's like this manufactured origami anger. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like embarrassing how see-through it is. You know what I mean? But it does affect people.
Yeah,
so
but
it does have a real force.
It's only see-through to people outside of it. So for us, it's sort of like, how can't you see it? Like it's so glaringly obvious. But for people who are sort of bought into it, it's sort of,
It's not even about some of it's just about training the behavior so that they can elicit that kind of response from you again when they need.
Yeah. It's almost like testing the batteries. I wonder if this will work. Nah, that won't work. Let's try it.
It really is a lot like that, it seems.
Yeah. It's almost like if they're good at anything, it's knowing where to push on the nerves. Because if it seems like the population is very nervous or nerveful or very anxious, and like I was in
rightly so.
Yeah, right? And I guess, for the people who didn't see, the whole COVID thing, you can imagine how uncomfortable it is, right? Because you've all had conversations with certain people who have gone from one end of the spectrum on COVID to the other, right?
Sure.
And they start having to confront, if I was wrong on this, maybe I was wrong on something else that was important. And now that Trump got elected, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
they've gotten a few hits in terms of their ability to assess things that end up becoming really important. And I can see that instead of having them reassess their position, almost double down. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just to maintain some sense of.
Yeah,
Right.
I call this the
If this isn't
psychology.
true, then all of this could be not true, and I can't
That
entertain
you would destroy your ego. You know,
This-
that's like worse than ayahuasca.
Yeah, no, that I call this the. I think this is actually what Hitler was talking about with the big lie, right? So you generate a lie big enough that people have to buy into the lie in order to maintain their sanity. The cognitive dissonance would be too great for them to entertain the thought, like, okay, if this part over here doesn't add up, then oh fuck, then this part over here doesn't add up, and then this part and this part, and then it all comes crumbling down. So I'm gonna just ignore the whole thing. I'm gonna look over here, and these guys over there are bad. And if I destroy these people over here, then the cognitive dissonance is gone, and I can have like harmony in my mind, and we can move on. And then the people at the top, they know what they're doing, and blah blah blah. So that's the big lie. It's sort of like having your kid doing coke, and because it's your kid, and your kid is saying you like, I'm not doing coke, I'm fine, I'm blah blah blah, and then you buy into that lie, and you invest more into the lie, and then eventually you become part of the problem, right? Because you're actually encouraging your kid to keep doing the drugs that he's doing until it falls apart, right? Because it has an end, term, right? But I think that's what's happening. That's the big lie. It's buying into your kid on drugs and saying like, oh, it's okay. He's
So
not
hold
really
on.
doing
Are
drugs.
you saying like 80% of people are experiencing a kind of Stockholm syndrome with their society?
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. That's what I think.
It is like a massive Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah.
almost by design.
Oh, it's definitely manufactured.
Yeah.
But
Like-
for-
And that's also
Or-
why the reactions are so emotional, right? When people say like, it's not like that, they become like, family members, friends, they can turn like that,
they get very angry with you.
extremely angry.
So I have a very close, my godfather, who's going through dementia young, and really it's bad. It's at a rapid onset, whatever the fuck
Sorry,
it is.
dude.
Yeah, it sucks. And his wife is, my aunt. Since I was a little kid, she's one of my favorites. And, they're older, and we were at a family reunion over the summer, and I said something about inflation. And she lost her fucking mind. There is not inflation. It's a lie. This is a smart woman. She's never, ever, ever actually said anything mad at me in my entire life. That she was so angry. And I wasn't actually promoting. I was just talking about inflation, and whatever the media is. Now, they're definitely hard anti-Trump, pro-Democrat forever type of people, where blue state, blue no matter who, Rhode Island is like the OG. Like, it's not, like, we're just not ever. Sometimes a governor here or there, but not a president forever. And so that's how the state is. But whatever she listens to, that was a trigger for her. Just talking about inflation, that was like angry, and you're lying, or that's not true, and they're just saying that to make Biden look bad. There isn't inflation. It's like, I'm a realtor. Remember that house that you were talking to me about selling like 5 years ago? It was worth $200,000, and now I can sell it for like $450. But where are you going to go? How did it get that? That's inflation, Auntie. And
It's interesting how the political becomes moral.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everything starts getting parsed, whether it's political or economic or sociocultural or geographic or technological.
Well, that's why they keep it that's why they keep it to two parties. It makes it really easy to pick teams and be polarized that way.
Which is interesting how all these topics now have a moral. It's almost like a mist of morality. You know what I mean? So if you have a position on Rust versus C++, it's like, why do you think that, you fucking communist?
Right.
What do you mean Rust should be in the kernel? Does that mean you're part of the red state? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Well,
but
the same way. So fascism and communism are the same thing. It's two sides of this. They were, it's two sides of it's the thesis and the antithesis.
And just one side understands business better, maybe?
Yeah.
It's big state for big government, big business for big government,
right?
Or big government for big business.
Yeah.
It's.
I think the more useful diagram is collectivism versus individualism. Because the fascism, communism is on the collectivist side, and the individualist side is sort of on its own. So that's I think a more useful divide.
That's exactly the real spectrum is between the balance between individual rights and the state.
Now
which both exist.
Okay, so here's another idea. We were always taught that, like, the kind of North American or Western hemisphere, Western society was individualistic, and like China and India were collectivist, right? So in America, we have the Marlboro Man, but my professor said in Japan, it's the Marlboro Man. Now, my real question was, do you think that collectivist cultures have a better chance at generating wealth in a decentralizing world? Do individualistic...
I don't think that there's... So, number one, I don't know that I don't know that the difference between the two cultures is what you're saying it is.
Right. That was an artificial construct. Yeah, I'm just proposing it.
It's not about... It's not about one or the other. It's about different options and balancing and having a market decide like who wants to actually do this, who wants to do that. It's about consent versus compulsion.
Yeah, so collectivism versus individualism.
Right, well, it's not even that. Everyone wants to consent, or nobody can consent. Right? If you can't consent, or if you can't withdraw your consent, if you can't opt out, can you consent?
No.
I mean, it makes me think of what Camus said: if everyone's on their knees, nobody feels like they're bowing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, no, that's an excellent observation. I'm not familiar with it, but I was unfamiliar with it, but it makes sense. It's you can't. We need to organize society. It's pretty obvious if you look at it that we are better off when we work together and create efficiencies between our efforts versus if we're all trying to build the same wheel.
True.
You know what I mean? Like we're all trying to build the same thing.
It's in complementary talents that partner together that creates the wider economy and GDP.
So what you want is to work together as individuals as a group.
Together alone.
Together alone.
Not as a collective, because that destroys individualism.
Well, it can be a collective if you decide that's how you want to. If everyone in that group decides they want to engage that way,
But then they'll lose.
So it's like
maybe
collect
they will,
ish.
maybe they won't. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. It depends.
The ability to unsubscribe from the group,
The
perhaps.
unsub, we have unsub. Why can't we unsub?
Is that how we can like look at the amount of control in a society by the amount of things that you can unsubscribe from?
I
Yeah.
think, but that's the thing. I think that's the next iteration of social organization is an opt-out system.
Yeah.
Where you can consent-based,
Yeah, but
non-violent. That's how you get a non-violent society, is when people can opt out.
But Steve, I 100% agree. But that's why they hate us, right? Because that's
They
the
hate us 'cause
absolute
they're
last
afraid-
thing that they want.
because they're afraid for the option of opting out.
Yes,
They
Yes.
want you.
they don't want individuals. They want the collective.
They want you to tell them what to do.
Yep. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
because otherwise they wouldn't be so scared of an option to opt out.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the key issue, right? So they want a collective. They want a group of people that are sort of brainwashed into following the leader, or the authority, or the newspaper, or the TV person talking, and they don't want a group of individuals going about their own business, working together on projects that they care about. That's the absolute
I saw
last
something
thing that they
on
want
how
us to
in
do.
I saw how in certain countries they restrict the amount of people that can be in a group chat.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised.
Yeah. It was like capped at like a certain precise number, and I was like, damn, what happens when people autonomously get together? That's fucking dangerous, dude. It really is. It really is. And the thing is, like, destabilizing to you means to us means something different to destabilizing to someone, who's sitting on, a pile of cash, right? Because we're talking about all of this discussion is happening during the greatest wealth transfer of all time. You know what I mean? So we should expect some friction on the way.
Here's the thing. If you have hey, zombie, what's up, man? Do you need the link? Get him the. I think it's.
Hey, Douglas.
Yeah,
Nice for you,
we should get Douglas in. Hold
He's
on, I'm
smart
gonna,
guy.
if he wants to, if he wants to jump in. I'm actually just gonna share it. He's on YouTube. He can get it.
Yeah, you can drop it. Otherwise, you can drop it in the Bitcoin Live DM.
I think I did, but this might not be the same link anymore. Hold on a second. Stream went down. Oh yeah, I said that. It's always dangerous when I go into my DMs when I'm trying to pay attention to something went wrong.
Yeah, you dropped it. Yeah.
That's the thing
No,
I'm
but,
sad about my account being suspended right now, is that I can't get into those DMs, dude, and like I can't get access to the messages and the working groups and stuff like that I was in.
Which I don't know. I added you to several.
Yeah,
I'll
but I
add
can't
you
see
to
like the previous history.
You
All
can't
that
see
stuff.
everything before.
Nope.
I don't have time to go look back that far anyway.
A water on the bridge.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no, it's behind me now. So like it's the only way is up from here. So it's good. It's good. It's good.
Well, and you're not like an honorary lit. Like you have also been banned. So congratulations.
Yeah, it's a rite of
Yeah,
passage in a way.
it's like it's a rite of passage, right? Yeah, exactly. So I've been in the game for a little bit, and now I've went through my rite of passage. Let's see the rise from the ashes.
What's up, Douglas? How you, man? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, I guess How is it in the States? Are you already, is it, it's not yet 12, right? Or
No, it's 20 minutes to 11 on the East Coast.
so are you guys, gonna fire fireworks or, I don't know. How does it work?
I won't because my wife's been asleep probably for 2.5 hours. So if I start lighting fireworks off in an hour or an hour and a half, we have a few. It's not really legal here, anyway. Like it's only ground fireworks here in my state.
What do you mean brown firework? Like
Ground,
H1B?
ground.
Oh, sorry.
H1B fireworks.
I already lit that shit up. Yeah, I already lit that shit up, man.
It's like
had the
Diwali out
grand
there.
finale and all that stuff. Got that out of the way.
Yeah, I have so when we go to New Hampshire, then they have everything fireworks, and so you buy like the stuff that you
Mhm.
light, it throws them up like 16 shots, and it's like you're at a fireworks show, and you're like super impressed. And then they give you 1,000,000 bottle rockets when you buy stuff like that. So I have like more bottle rockets than I could ever shoot off in my neighborhood because I can only do about 4 or 5, and then my wife's mad and she doesn't want to hear it anymore. So,
Then,
But
then you get different fireworks.
yeah, she's not fun.
So
remember-
I actually, I shot a lot of. I went to Belgium. I just got back from a short vacation, a week vacation in Belgium in the Ardennes, which was awesome. No internet or almost no internet, and I bought some fireworks from Belgium, which are better, much better than in Holland. And then I fired them over here, so that was a lot of fun. Really, I'll probably post some videos later, probably tomorrow. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's a big event in Holland, scaring all the animals and stuff.
Yeah, we don't get as rowdy as we used to. Like we can't really party here because my wife, like, she's literally in bed by 8 o'clock, and every day, and it just can't happen. So we might go to my daughter's house, but she works, and my oldest daughter, my oldest son, both work a third, like an overnight shift, an overnight 12-hour shift on a rotating schedule. So they're like, this year they're on, so there's no party, and they were on Christmas, Christmas Eve. So next year likely there'll be another, and last year they were working, so I think the cycle will go where next year, if they're in the same job, we'll probably have a party over there. But I haven't really done anything much besides go to a party at my daughter's house on New Year's Eve for a long time because I'm old and I don't care anymore. It's just
So, like in the beginning of your life, it was like music, love, peace. Now it's peace, love, music.
yeah, maybe. Well, it might have been love, music.
Love and music were intertwined. I understand. I've been in the band.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, oh, that's all right.
It's like
Peace was,
love, music, fireworks, peace.
yeah, something like that. Something like that. But it was definitely, yeah. I just not. I've gotten a lot of partying done. I've done a lot of partying.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. I can't possibly.
So, did you go to like concerts and stuff back in the day?
I've been to a few. I like festivals.
Mm.
Oh, you've been to the gathering, bro?
No, but I've been to a bunch of festivals in the area.
That's what's up. Like,
yeah.
I haven't been to the gathering either, but like I used to go record bands and stuff, like punks and stuff in the Southerns. So yeah, I used to go do a bunch of that fun stuff. You do anything like that when you were doing the music stuff?
I've been to, so I'm in New England, and we get a lot of so I didn't get to go to too many concerts when I was young because I had children very young. My
Yeah,
oldest.
I used to show up to punk concerts with my son and my daughter in a carrier while still recording the bands for Diablo Corp. Like, bro, yeah, I used to do it back in like the early 2000s, and I'd be traveling and all over. Especially with early YouTube, I was one of the first people on YouTube recording bands. Like, I had Murder Junkies on YouTube in 2007 and 2008, and no one else had that stuff on YouTube. You know, because everyone else, they were going to the big stuff and they had everything licensed where you couldn't bring stuff in. And then we'd get them into these small concert venues and we'd be like, they'd be like, well, so who's doing the recording? They'd be like, you see that guy over there with the 2 kids? Go talk to him. Yeah.
So, Peace, how young are we talking?
My oldest was born a week before I turned 19.
Whoa.
And then that was too easy for me. So my first son was born 11 days after I turned 20. So I turned 20, or 11 days after I turned 20, I had a 1-year-old and a newborn.
So what brought you and the wifey together? Was it music? I'm trying to figure out your life in terms of which word kind of dominated.
Well, that was my ex. I was with my ex. We ended up having 4 together. We were together since high school. And then we broke up in our early 30s. And I met my wife after becoming single for the first time in my really adult life, and being very successful and not being very interested in, wasn't really looking for anything serious, but it just ended up working out. You know, she had 2 kids, so I had 4, she had 2, we have 1 in common. But I did go to, I went to Woodstock 99, where they burned that shit down.
Yeah.
I didn't, honestly, I didn't love the scene there. We left that Sunday morning before they burned everything down. It kind of was just getting ugly. It was really, looking back now, it was really it was crazy. It was a nuts scene. And just there were a lot more guys than women, and the women were being regularly encouraged to reveal themselves by massive groups of guys. And it was uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable. Now that I'm looking back, I was 21 or something. So I was just it was just, I was in awe of it. But now that it's kind of, it was just, you couldn't get weed, by the way. You're trying to find weed in the parking lot. You could not find weed anywhere. Everyone had ecstasy.
Yeah, MDMA was probably in.
You could not find weed. I was like, this sucks. What kind of concert? I'm here for 2 days. We had a walk for 3 hours. Anyway, it ended up sucking that one. But I'm really into Fish. I love Fish. I've been to a bunch of Fish concerts. And then
the Guyanese in me was like, oh, you're talking about food? Oh no, PH. Sorry.
Yeah, I like Fish too. I do like Fish, the food. And I actually used to like Fish food, Ben & Jerry's ice cream, actually, but I'm not allowed to have that anymore because I'm diabetic.
Oh.
Thanks, COVID.
Thanks, COVID.
Nah, it probably wasn't COVID.
So, what are you guys' predictions for 2025?
I'm cautiously optimistic of a continued paradigm shift with the new administration. I do think that there's going to be a lot of pushback against a lot of what he's trying to do. The establishment does not want to see him succeed. But I also think that as far as Bitcoin goes, it's kind of inevitable at this point that corporations and governments are going to have to start putting it on their balance sheets, and as they start having to put it on their balance sheets, then all of those that have not done so will have to even hurry faster to start putting it on their balance sheets, because it's going to start being more expensive to do so. And I do think that that's going to have some volatile effects.
I think that's a good point, because as more companies are going to start piling them into their fact sheets, they're going to realize something really quickly, that it's already been predetermined that when a company in America buys Bitcoin, that the amount that they buy at the price they buy is not allowed to move in their hands. Like if company A buys Bitcoin for 30,000 and 1 Bitcoin, and Bitcoin goes up to 100,000, they're technically only allowed to call that a 30,000 Bitcoin on the book. And that's already been established. That was with Biden. So I want to see that get reversed before a bunch of people jump in, or else they're going to get screwed, where they're going to have, even to a point where you have pre-Bitcoin before a term change, where they have to have whatever price it was set at, and then you have other Bitcoin that's at like $100,000. Imagine how you'd feel like, yeah, we got a lot of Bitcoin that we can't raise in value because of an old law, and now we have this other Bitcoin which we can allow the volatile to be volatile as we need it to be. And I think that's going to cause some harm to a lot of smaller companies.
You're saying there's a law that freezes the value
if you
of
put it
Bitcoin
on
on a balance sheet?
If you put it on your book.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And that was because
that.
BlackRock was putting it on their book, and Bitcoin started that rise up to 50,000, and it took less than 2 weeks to get put into a law. It stuffed into a law, and BlackRock was the first people to announce the fact that they couldn't raise the value of their Bitcoin, and that's when they had a big thing where their value shifted. They remembered there was headlines. They all said BlackRock's value dropped randomly, but Bitcoin's value didn't drop. That was why their balance sheet dropped randomly. Was they had a bunch of Bitcoin valued at 50,000, they had to go back and lower
reprice it.
They had to reprice it at the original price, 25,000.
Wow.
And believe it or not, that's why a lot of people get confused about how much BlackRock is valued at, because their value at is lower than what they own.
But does that work the same way with MicroStrategy's holdings?
Yep. And that's why all these companies are buying at top. They're not buying at bottom. That's why they wanted to start buying at top, because it made more sense. Buy it at the highest peak point, you got the best value usage. You buy it at the lowest peak point, you only have better storm of value. But if you can't consider that change, then it has no store. The store is in the top. But if you think about that, that causes a top cycle, which is what we're in right now. Every top causes another top.
Or it just causes them to become undervalued on their book value.
Yeah, so the shareholders are not
it's one or the other.
Yeah, so the shareholders are not.
That's actually advantageous.
CEO does not like the idea of buying it low. He's not profiting.
So they can actually show paper losses potentially.
Yeah, over time, but not for 4 years. Because Bitcoin has a 4-year recovery rate, so you have to wait for their recovery rate at the 4-year mark. So you buy it at some point, then you say it does go down in value or anything, or it goes up in value, and you now have a loss. You have to wait 4 years to ensure that it's not going to either go back to where it was or go back up to where it was to be able to even say you had a loss. And then in America, that's about your limit. That's about as far as you can go. You'd have to ask for an extension in your 3rd year in to ensure that you could recover your loss on your 4th year. Because on your 4th year in America, you won't be able to recover but half your loss on average, which a lot of companies already do that. But I know, like, if you're going to be dealing with millions or even more type of money, you wouldn't want that. You would want you'd want to request an extension, which you can request extension on gag order in America. So you can actually request it to where it's not public.
I wish Landy were here. Landy would have a great conversation with you about this.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wish I did. I can only take your word and half understand what you're saying. Because it's not.
That's all I expect from people.
That's normal with Douglas.
Yeah, I'm just not familiar with it. But I know that it seems like they're putting it on their balance sheets, though.
But it seems like
Oh, yeah.
the balance sheet figure does not necessarily reflect fair market value. Is that right?
Yeah, right. And it's never gonna. And that was, I think, the reason how they got it put into some law or something. Because like, it, no matter what you do, you could never have your balance sheet be accurate to your actual market value, and that's already been a thing. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of companies out there that are kind of leveraging their debt more than their credit in order to have money the next month. You know, so they could get a loan or something to keep going, and that is a common
And
problem.
maybe they
but it's
use
not valid.
intangible assets to make up the difference for everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because all for them, it's at the fiscal year is what matters to them, right? So it doesn't matter what your end year is as long as your front year reflects opposite. So if you have a lot of sales at the end year, you want no sales at the front of the year, and then you'll be even.
Like they do with inflation with housing.
Kind of, yeah. Yep. And that, if you ever wonder why is it so important in America, the last 3 months everybody buy as much stuff as they can, so that way companies can start claiming their losses before you start buying. Because when does the fiscal year ended? Was it November or October, right? And then, so now it's the personal end of the years until what, May? And that's what a lot of people don't realize. You know, when you're out there shopping and stuff right now, you're pumping their next year's sheet. You're just pumping their sheet next year. All the money that they're spending right now, we'll see on their next fiscal year. It will be at their Q1 ended, which is most people started their Q1 February.
It's interesting that stagger of 6 months, huh?
Mm-hmm. Well, personal and private has had that for a long time. It confused me when I was growing up. Like, I was like learning how to do stock trade with my mom. I was helping my mom get ready to get her broker's license, and they would say fiscal year, calendar year, and there's a third one that means something else, and it got me confused for so long because like there is a year end at September or August or something like that, like right around the 6th month. There is a year end there. So there's a lot of businesses they'll do the end of the year book right there at the middle of the year. I don't know why, but they do. I know, like when I was doing my books, because I don't really manage my business anymore. But when I was managing my business, we would start putting our books in the 5th month of the year. We would start doing all our stuff. We'd send it to the people or whatever to get it done. Then we were always fully ready, done by 6th month, and then we had to do it again by the 9th month. We had to send everything in again, and then in January, I'd have to do it again in January. And so the people that ran our books for us, that's how they did it. When I ran my nonprofit for a long time, same thing. We would do 3 books a year, and we would run it in the one before the middle of, or the one before your 6th month marker. So that way they have a month to handle, get all your stuff, make sure you're not going to get anything wrong on you.
Okay.
I know there are different industries actually have different fiscal years too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with me, I was in private tech sector, so like not even quite the same as like the public tech sector, because I deal with code and recycling, not with a lot of the other stuff like maintaining a platform or anything like that.
Guys, I have to sleep.
Sorry, bro.
No worries, man. Happy New Year, Nick. Thank you for staying up with us, man. I really do appreciate.
Yeah,
love you, brother. And
fun.
good things in 2025, man.
Yeah, definitely. And Steve, congratulations to what you've done with DeOrganized. It's really mind-blowing. Respect, and 2025 will be a great year for DeOrganized, and hopefully also for Bitcoin Live and for Bitcoin and decentralized crypto all around. So let's work on that. And for everybody watching, enjoy the show. I'm gonna sign out and see you guys later.
Thank you, Nick. Love you, brother. Happy New Year.
You too.
I'm looking forward to 2025, man.
Yeah, me too. Better year.
Another good one. Actually, on that note, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go get myself a glass of whiskey.
Good idea.
What up, Broseph?
What's going on? What are you saying?
Shit, not much. Just smoking.
Yeah.
Am I the only non-drinker here? Are you a drinker too?
I have a drink in my hand, but only because it felt customary. If that makes sense. And now they have it at the convenience store, so they're making it a little too convenient. I'm not sure how I feel about that, because there's convenience stores all around me. You know?
Yeah, one on every corner in some places.
And so, like, you're checking out, and wherever you're checking out, you have to pass this. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And it's the most well-lit thing in the whole fucking place, right? Christmas candles and, you know, LED lights around the beer, right? So it's just like, it feels like society-wide entrapment. You know what I mean? It feels like, you ever read, like, Rat Park? That kind
I don't know Rat Park by name, but I'm assuming you're talking to kind of like where the society sets you up for failure type thing.
Well, it's like they did this study with rats, and you know they had the pellet of cocaine or whatever they were using, sugar, and they found that the rats learned to keep pressing on the lever to get the drug, and
like the dopamine thing,
yes, okay. Right. But what they found was, I think they call it like classically like a Skinner box or something like that, and they found from that study that the most addicting schedule was intermittent rewards delivered at intermittent intervals. But what really fucked them up was that when they provided a rat amusement park for the rats to be able to like exercise and play in, they were less susceptible to getting addicted to the drugs when they had a form of productively using their time. Yeah, because it's like I've read a study where they were like using the Bronx as like a way to show that the more a city grows and the harder it is for people to move, the more they want to do more kinds of drugs, not just regular drugs. Like they were using the creation of hard drugs as the baseline. And I have to admit, man, like, I come from a farmer area, I come from a smaller town, so like when the town started getting bigger, we started getting hard drugs, I started seeing that around here, even to a point where our birds walk more. I'm like, bro, I grew up never seen a bird walk a day in my life, and now I see birds refusing to fly. Like, you'll hit them because they won't want to get up and fly. It's like, wow.
Yeah, it's like it's the comfort and laziness thing.
I noticed that that hard drug thing with crime in Toronto. So where I grew up, I didn't know. You know when you grow up in the hood, you don't know it until later.
Until you're like in high school or college, and you're like looking around, you're like,
or like,
gotcha.
Girls would be like, I'm not meeting you there, and like, what's wrong with there? They're like, there? Are you crazy? And you're like, well, this is where I grew up. What are you trying to say, right? And so I noticed the change because I found that where I grew up became more violent as the drugs got harder. You ever notice that?
Yeah. I'm like, I was coming home one time from I was working, was walking home, and two boys just came up and they were like, this is our street, blah blah blah. And and I'm like, the fuck, man? I'm like 10 times older than you. Leave me the fuck alone. I just like kept walking by or whatever, but I was just like, man, what kind of fucking drug would they be on? All right, so long story short, about 4 years later, my brother was doing a hard drug with one of them, fentanyl. Now he ain't here no more.
Damn,
and
dude.
It happens, man. Like, but those boys didn't ever try talking to me before they were doing hard drugs. When they were just doing weed and smoking cigarettes and alcohol, they never spoke to me like that ever. They were my brother's friends, is in short who they are. But it was like, I remember when they first did that to me, I was just like, man, what the fuck you talking to me like this for? And just kept walking like they were nothing. But, who knows? They could have been high, not realize I knew who they were. They could have had a gun. I don't know. But, the way I figured out I lived in the wrong area is I was in high school and I was telling my counselor where I lived because I had to catch the bus. But I was like, hey, I got to hurry up. I got to catch the bus. I live over here. I got a job. And they went, you live where? And I was like, what? How's that a bad thing? And they were like, don't tell people you live there.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, fuck. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's like, you're right. You don't know it until you either get out of it or yeah, it gets worse. And now, like when I go in that same street, because I don't live there no more, that same area, and when I go in that same area, because my dad still lives there, it's real bad, man. Like every day I go down, every time I go down there, there's at least one cop on the street all the time. There's at least 2 houses they're watching right now, and it's like, man. But
Yeah, you ever catch yourself like defending where you grew up, and it's like really bad, and you're like, fuck. I remember I was dropping someone off to work, right? And they always said, oh, I got this new job and I'm afraid because it's in Scarborough or Malvern or whatever. And I'm not like, oh no, that's where I grew up, it's fine. And then as I'm dropping her off to the workplace, there's a cop putting a dude in handcuffs. I'm like, oh man, I can't even, like,
it just makes it look worse.
I can't even defend where I grew up anymore. Sorry.
It's all good.
But look at the cops are taking care of the crimes getting taken care of.
Oh, so you're saying society is working in that case? Yeah.
I'm just trying to spin it for you, man.
Spin it to the positive. Yeah.
I like it. That's the peace part. They're upholding the peace.
Yeah.
Now, if you can say, hey, it's only once a week, that's
what we should also do with our police officers is to rebrand them as peace officers and make them charge them with protecting the peace.
Bro, you ever been to England? Like, I know it's not the best.
I have not
right now.
I kind of understand, but
if you went to England like 5 or 6 years ago, their officers really were peace officers. Like their cop cars and stuff stand out. If you waved one down on the street and say, "Hey, bro, help me out," they would be like, "All right, how can I help you, man?" And they'd get a thing out and like write down even how they helped you. Like they would get points for helping people and stuff.
Oh wow!
And here in America, they're like, make it to where there's a sign on there that says police, but you can only see it when they're passing past your lights.
I don't trust the.
I
don't trust the helmets. The European cop helmets? I don't like those helmets.
Yeah, I forget what those are called. Like, boy,
what I'm talking about?
I love those helmets.
That just seems
so
like
weird
totalitarian helmets to me. Whenever I see those,
I have the good fortune of living in the house I grew up in the neighborhood I grew up in, and I grew up in a really good neighborhood, and so like I know a lot of the police force, not a lot. I wouldn't say like a lot, but I know several guys that are police. I've coached football many years, so I know a lot of guys that were policemen from that. And I can honestly say, and I've had a lot of interactions with police, not in a negative way, in my area. So it's different from place to place. Some towns in our area, so my town, pretty decent. Some other towns, not so much so. And it comes down to an individual type of thing. In general, you're talking about someone who's being put into a position of authority over others, or in specifically with the authorization to use violent force to compel people to do stuff. They should absolutely be held to a higher standard with that kind of responsibility, I think. And I think that there's a lot more we can do. I think that they're in a really hard position also. Like it's a terrible position to be in because you are dealing with a lot of the bullshit that happens, like a lot of the shitty people that are really, that are fucked up, and you have to deal with that.
We complain when there's a troll in a Twitter space. You know what I mean? Like
right.
They have to actually deal with
it's actual trolls in real life. Yeah. You guys ever seen Cops? You guys remember when Cops used to play? Like you guys ever watch that? They would show some of the and I remember like some of the worst. Okay, so like when I worked in food service, cops come eat all the time, and they kind of talk to you a little bit different when you're in food service, right? And one time I was talking to a cop, and it was like a cop and his son. They were both cops, and I was like, so is it really like that in Cops and stuff? Is it really like with our town stuff? And the older cop was like, oh, I wouldn't say it. And the younger one was like, dude, I'm in a chase every other day.
Wow.
It doesn't stop. And I was just like, so it used to not be, but I guess it is now. And, and just the difference in the two they're one's dad and one's a son. The dad was like, nah, and this son's like, yeah. So it shows you right there, like, cops really have, even every cop has a completely different, like, their job is way different from another cop. You know what I mean? Like, not even two cops have the same exact like, experience.
Two cops in the same city are not the same cops, even in the same city.
And they're also family. So, they communicate, they're with each other, they talk to each other, and they're still two completely different job positions, two completely different experiences. Nothing the same. And like that's probably the most important thing about life is like that's something I learned a long time ago, like when I was really, really young, is that it doesn't matter what you do. You can try to do two things they're the same with two people, and everything will hit them completely differently. And that's the beauty of the chaos. Say like Sound Dr. Genie, if he's listening, he probably might be out there on Twitter or something. He's the one that always tried to convince me about chaos theory as being like a real thing. I still don't believe it, but there's a lot of proof behind it.
What's that? How does it
chaos
work?
theory? That there's so much people doing their own thing that you can't really track any one thing. And it came from some guy trying to track the weather and couldn't do it, but then found out that the Farmer's Almanac was tracking the weather just fine for like 150 years or however long they've actually been doing it since.
Predicting the weather.
Farmer's Almanac predicts the weather more accurately than any meteorologist has ever done. And that's whole chaos theory is behind the fact that one book just looks at the past and records what happened a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and then averages that out and says, well, the average of all of that information is this information. It might rain by this percentage. It will be this hot, this cold. The sun comes up this time and goes down at this time. And even down to like what the humidity level is. They're pretty damn accurate. And that's the fun thing about that is like all it is history. But
Benjamin Franklin had access to time travel.
No, I don't believe in time travel, bro. I don't even believe in time. You guys believe in time?
No, actually all that exists is now.
I believe in change.
All right. So like you guys ever see that movie where it's like Interstellar or whatever, and they go on a planet and they're like 1 hour here is like 5,000 or 500. It's like, think about this logically. If you got two people in a spaceship, right? Well, one person leaves, one stays. If they both start counting 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and they can stay in sync like twins or something, and they go down and come back, the same amount of time actually passed. But the people who went on that planet's a number of days would have been however many days it would have been. For them, it was actually 2 hours, right? And they would have gone back. They would have counted the same number of seconds and everything. They would have counted the same number of time. And they would have been the exact same amount of time. It's just, if you counted Earth years to the years of that planet, it's a huge amount of difference. Because
you're just talking about orbits and rotation.
It's different rotations. And that's what a lot of people get confused about. They're like, instruments work on magnetism. And so we use magnetism to look at time. And so we can't truly see time because
we use magnetism to look at time. Can you say more?
All right. So when you get a crystal and you shake it, how do you know when that thing is shaking?
Never thought about that.
You look at the magnetic field. A lot of people, they just use a little magnetic wave to see the difference in the physically see a difference in electrical pull from that little crystal shaking. And previously, I believe they would put it between two plates, and it would shake between the two plates and basically cause electrical pull as it's like do 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 do. But
is that how they create the atomic clock, or is that a different
No, the
mechanism?
atomic clock is up in space, which is why it's atomic. It's running off a nuclear whatever, so it's actually calculating the nuclear discharge of the particles that it's based on.
Shut up. Wow.
And that's why you want it in space. It's as cold as it can be. The only colder one you could do is by getting one closer to a black hole, in between a black hole and a series of collections of stars that have that magnetic pull to around that same point, to where you could get like a neutral zone of that area right in front of the event horizon. And that'd be the coldest point on anywhere in space because it's forcing everything past there as fast as possible. Well, we already know that's how you cool stuff down. That's how we cool down computers, bro.
So time is... Hey, what's going on?
Time is just observations, bro.
Arbitrary units that are evenly spaced.
Nah, not even evenly spaced. It's
Not
just
even.
memories between 2 points of memories.
Not to fact check or anything, but there's an atomic clock in Colorado. There's,
I
there's
bet
quite a
there
few of them.
Yeah, but where was the first atomic clock put?
Colorado.
No, it's put in space. Isn't the Navy atomic clock the satellite?
Well, yes, but they were developed in Colorado, and then they fire them up on satellites. Typically, there's some on satellites floating around in space.
And
then
that's
there's
where
some
the
in
Navy
Colorado.
atomic clock is at, right?
Yeah.
Because that's
It's
where
like-
when I was in the
there's
Navy,
not a
that's where they
mean.
told me it was
They-
at. Because that's like,
They take a mean, but yeah,
yeah,
pretty cool stuff.
yeah, you're right. It is fun.
You're
So I'm gonna come right back, but can you talk about that thing you were mentioning about the way that Bitcoin is valued on balance sheets? That's what we want to talk to you about.
Okay,
Randy.
so yeah, talking about when BlackRock was getting that, they were buying a lot of Bitcoin. Bitcoin started going up to 50,000, and Biden wanted to put a stop to them being able to increase their value rate just for holding Bitcoin. So they said, no, Bitcoin on your balance sheet is at the value you buy it at, not the value it is valued at.
Landy, are you familiar with that bookkeeping rule?
BlackRock doesn't own any Bitcoin.
It might be MicroStrategy. It's one of those. I just remember there was a big fluff on it, and when it was on Twitter, when people were like really complaining about it, because Biden was like, there was a company getting a lot of value, and they were just holding it, and they said, "No, you can't just hold it. We need you to buy more. We need to
This was
put
like
more on the
a rule
balance
that
sheet."
they proposed that had nothing to do with company specific or reactions to companies. It was
I
in an
just remember
effort
that's how it
to
was worded in the like headlines and stuff, man. That's all.
Yeah. What it was is they were trying to limit you in traditional markets. If I'm a company and I own Bitcoin and it's on my balance sheet and I want to go get a loan, the loan is going to be subject to the size of the aggregated portfolio value. And if I wanted to specifically integrate Bitcoin into that portfolio value, what the proposal was from the Biden administration was to push forward policy that would be the initiating price, not the current price. And that was immediately shot down. So like I couldn't, like if I bought Bitcoin at $400, right, and I've been holding it this entire time and I wanted to get a loan against it as a company,
You only value it at $400.
they can't value it at its initial value because that's not what the resale value is. For instance, if I defaulted on that loan, they could turn around and sell it for almost $100,000, right?
Right.
Well, Biden and the administration, what they were trying to do was essentially make it unattractive for you to hold Bitcoin via the way that loans would be processed. But they got way out over their skis. There was no way to implement that, and banks didn't give a shit because there is no. I can put up any asset to a bank. They determine whether or not I'm worthy of, whether I'm going to just use creditworthiness, which is my history, or if I'm going to put up assets. They're going to make the determination, and I don't have to go to U.S. banks. I can go to international banks, right?
Yeah, but I mean, like, and then you're getting to a point where it's like, then you go, okay, well, then you could also go to international housing or authority housings, or
No.
you could go stuffing loaners.
No,
but
like companies though. When it comes to companies and business in the United States, like I can get a loan from overseas. I can't get.
Yeah, I'm just saying there's a
home
bunch of
from
different ways you could get loans for companies in America. All I'm really saying is there's multiple different avenues. Now, I did put down in the private chat one of my sources where they actually say there is a law that says, it's not realize the same, that they don't realize the gains as they happen or something like that. And so there are like accountants, like the accountant that we were going through, actually, that was one of the things that we were having to deal with them is they were saying, hey, look, if you have Bitcoin on your balance, we won't increase your value rate. We'll just put it at the point that you bought it at. And I do know that there are other ones that are doing that too. So with that, and that said, that was
tax expediency. So these two conversations get tangled together and they're not actually related. So one is the loan side of things. when taking on. So companies work on debt and equity, right?
Mhm.
So if I want investment into my company or I want to raise money, you have the equity side, which is you're giving up something within your company, like a piece of your company, stocks, shares, board positions, whatever it might be. And then you have the debt side of the company. And that's where you're getting loans, and the principal, you're the principal lender and you're the principal buyer, or borrower rather. What you end up with is you don't have to give up any of your company, but you can put up assets right on the balance sheet, in the treasury, your credit worthiness and all that kind of stuff to get loans. This is basically what Michael Saylor does. And when he's selling bonds, right? When he's getting money to go buy Bitcoin. What essentially what he's doing is a debt to equity trade, where he's putting up he's raising money in convertible bonds. People buy those convertible bonds. He uses that money to then buy Bitcoin. Well, then everybody's like, well, how is he going to pay them back? Well, they're very low interest. And what these convertible bonds do is, well, they convert. What do they convert for? MicroStrategy stock. So it's essentially a way of bulk buying MicroStrategy stock. And then
sell later.
And then they can sell that stock if they want later after converting. Now they could demand their money back, right? Based on repayment.
But there's a early pullout. They get penalized for that, don't they? Like the person who pulls out early.
Oh no, they have to adhere to the terms of the bond. But let's say that we get to the end of the term of a bond with MicroStrategy, and the lenders say, no, I don't want to convert to MicroStrategy stock.
Yeah,
I want you to give me cash.
They want to drop out. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And that's where, MicroStrategy could give them cash, but you're probably not going to see that. And the main reason why is because by the time they want to convert, they're just going to want more MicroStrategy stock, which is one of the reasons why MicroStrategy just authorized, or is trying to get authorization to increase their shares. A lot of people getting very upset about stuff like that, but let's bring this back to Bitcoin for a moment. Bitcoin on the balance sheets is MicroStrategy's, right? No one owns it. No one else owns it. No one has a claim to it except MicroStrategy.
Just want to say shout out 300 in the house.
What's up,
Happy
300?
New Year, my brother.
I see him coming on. I see GPSC is here, but he's a little quiet.
Yeah, he had to attend to some stuff.
Okay. Well, when you start getting into the Bitcoin side of things, what you end up with is, there's many different ways that MicroStrategy could leverage their Bitcoin. There's many different ways in which they can put it on their balance sheet to get it valued too. The value of the company is kind of intertwined with Bitcoin at this point because Bitcoin is on the balance sheet. So MicroStrategy stock is a vector for Bitcoin's price. Now, if some of these previous laws and some of these previous accounting principles and practices that were trying to be implemented, if they were to have been implemented, would have stifled the amount in which someone could technically value a business at for any purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that it's ever going to be reality, because Michael Saylor can go to anyone and offer. He's got a backlog of probably billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars that want to give him money. It's a backlog of money to buy bonds.
So what you're really saying is, if one avenue tells him no, there's another one telling him yes.
No, it's that people don't care. We can still give him as much money as we want, no matter what his company value is rated at. No matter
so
what.
Even if there is one thing telling him no, he's still saying yes.
Well, it's not him. It's the investors. Investors can go and buy a bond. They say to MicroStrategy, we'd love it if you could offer up, $300 billion in bond, which, by the way, that's probably the backlog that he's got for Bitcoin buying, which is incredible, by the way. When you look at the real demand behind, he's actually slow walking this thing. And because he knows that if he was just in there buying Bitcoin all the time, he's going to shoot price up on himself, right?
Yeah, he's going to keep top marketing it.
So, when they're buying and they're issuing these bonds to take on this debt, they're actually being very smart about it because they have such a big backlog. But they could say, like, we want to give you money. Just make a convertible bond for us to give you money with, right? Like, that's what people are doing. And that doesn't matter what the multiples are, what the IRS says, how you should value companies based on best accounting practices. No one cares. Which I will tell you that their accounting practices and their creditworthiness is actually really, really good because they're borrowing against creditworthiness. They're not putting up Bitcoin as the vector for those bonds, right? You're not giving Michael Saylor money and then getting Bitcoin out of that in any way. You're buying those bonds and getting stock out of it, or you're getting cash out of it. It's like the ETFs. So here's something that people have to really understand, and this is where I think the argument gets confused with some of these larger nebulous asset under management companies that are pretty scary and control everything, right? Peace. They literally control everything and buy everything via various companies. They put their representatives on boards, and that's the BlackRocks, Fidelities, and so on and so forth of the world.
Well, they're majority owner of everything now, pretty much.
Yes, but are they?
Well,
is it them that owns it?
No,
the answer is no, but they can control it. They use many of our monies here in the United States and internationally through various funds and organizations and money managers and many different vectors in which to accrue assets under management. So when you go and you buy the IBIT shares Bitcoin ETF spot ETF from them, you're going through any manner of broker to get those shares, right? Mm-hmm. And those are your shares. Like, you own, what is it? IBIT. Let's say you go, IBTC. It's
IBIT, right?
IBIT.
Oh, BTX is another one, isn't it? Or XBC.
There's
XBC.
Well, I think IBIT is the BlackRock one.
Okay. BlackRock is IBIT, and then you've got FBTC, which is your Fidelity.
Right.
Those are the two biggest. All right. So if you go and you own, you buy one share at $51, you own that share. That's your share. They're just managing and holding the Bitcoin on the back end for you. Now, you cannot get Bitcoin out of that thing. You can only ever get cash out. So it's a cash in, cash out trade. But one of the reasons why this is set up the way it is because if I put that on my balance sheet, I can lean against it, right?
Right.
And BlackRock doesn't own that Bitcoin. They control that Bitcoin or manage that Bitcoin for me for whatever Bitcoin that one share is worth. That is on chain. We can see it and we know how many shares are issued. So it's the first asset class in history that we have transparency into, where we can see what they're doing on the back end with Bitcoin, and we know how many shares are issued. So we can see if they're being real with us versus like gold ETFs, where you don't know when they do audits. Usually third-party auditors are owned by the same companies that are auditing themselves, right? But what this does do is obviously there's no CEO, there's no company, there's nobody to go to for Bitcoin. So one of the things is with them getting so interested in Bitcoin is that if they have a ton of assets under management that are Bitcoin, because they represent, me, you, and whoever else owns IBIT shares, they can go to various companies, they can go to Congress, and they can say, look, there's a responsibility that we have to protect our investors. So we think that you should pass this particular accounting act or this financial act, or they can go and they can apply pressure, just like they can take for however many shares of Marathon that they have, and they can place, that's other shareholders. They don't own those shares, they're managing those shares, but they can place a representative on Marathon's board to help direct that company, right? They could put people on the board and in position in those companies because of the amount of shares that they're managing for their clients. Now, I made that sound very, very not nefarious. Now, when you get into why it is nefarious, it's because they are all conglomerates, right? The entire financial system is set up to run through these large asset under management companies, and these asset under management companies own very large pieces of each other, right? So BlackRock and Fidelity and Citadel and State Street and all the rest,
So
they all own
on
each
all
other.
so they place everyone on all the boards.
Yeah, so they get, because they manage so much of the money that technically isn't their money. We refer to it as BlackRock's buying Bitcoin, but it's not BlackRock buying Bitcoin. It's all of the people downstream buying their shares that are buying the Bitcoin. And BlackRock really doesn't make their money off of the IBIT shares directly or the Bitcoin arbitrage directly. That's the authorized participant that makes some money for managing the portfolios and managing the custody, the creation and redemption process for those Bitcoins. And that would be the authorized participant. Yes, BlackRock owns them in a roundabout way, but where does BlackRock really make their money? They make their money at the margins, meaning that they're making their money as management fees, right? It's the asset under management portion is where they actually make the money. And yes, there's other ways in which they can make this money, but realistically, this is a conversation that we started a little bit earlier. It's about incentivization, right? A lot of these very large corporations aren't going to go anywhere. A lot of these mega monopolies aren't going to go anywhere, especially under Trump. I know a lot of Trump people don't like that I say that, but they're not. They're not. What they will do is they will morph and they will change and they will break up and they will become more decentralized. They will then re-centralize. And here's the funny part about what's going to end up happening with a lot of this stuff is if the incentivization structure dictates that they do things that you and I and everyone else actually likes from a moral standpoint and maybe even an economic standpoint, they will do it. Why? Because if they see that they can make more money by doing quote unquote what might be morally the right thing or good thing to do via society, they will do it. The only reason that they don't do the morally right things and good things is because they're not incentivized to do so. There is no monetary pressure to do so. And I always use ESG as a really good example. Why did ESG and DEI get implemented across every corporation in America and around the world? Well, because there was tax incentivization to do so, specifically via Congress here in the United States and by international bodies and governments around the world, incentivizing, basically pegging you to be green and to also implement DEI, which was under the umbrella of ESG, by the way. But here's the reason why it was so attractive, because there was billions and billions and billions of dollars in tax savings in doing so for these corporations to do it. It actually made more sense to go in the ESG end of things and take the tax savings versus the hit that you knew you were going to take on the business side of things, on the sales side of things, on the customer side of things. You'd rather lose the customers because you can always try to earn their trust back. We're big evil corporations. We've done this a million times over. And take the arbitrage on the tax side of things, implement all these things, and it makes financial sense. And why does it make financial sense? Because the people advising these companies to do that and placing all of these different positions for ESG and DEI and stuff, the reason why they were told to do this is because the board of directors, asset under management people are there as board of directors, and they say, oh, we are going to make X amount more money if we go in this route. And that's what we want you to do because it protects their assets under management. So if you incentivize these things in the right way and say like, no, we actually will give you billions of dollars if you give every single customer a pony, right? Do you think that any one of these would not go and start giving all their customers ponies? And then if you're like, well, the tax is part of the tax incentivization by the Trump administration, not only do you have to give them a pony, but you have to give them a small plot of land and enough money to actually take care of that pony. These companies would do it if there was a tax incentive to do it, because the asset under management companies need to protect their investors. They don't want to lose the asset under management. So they will go to these companies and they'd say, well, guess what? It's really tax advantageous for us to give every single one of the customers on our books ponies and give them property to take care of their ponies. They would do it.
I know you're saying that as a joke, but it's like what was that Brewster's Millions where he had to spend a bunch of money, so he just hired
Yes.
someone to redo his office a bunch of times, and it was like
Yeah.
I could see that because it's like I worked for a company for like 8 years because I was disabled, and they were like, okay, yeah, whatever you can do, we'll find something for you to do. Just we need you on the payroll. And at first I was like, okay, cool, I got a job. And then after I got there, I found out, oh, they hire 60% disabled, because if they hire 60% disabled, they get part of their pay that they paid to the disabled returned.
Yeah.
No, so it was like, I was like, oh, so that means I was first up for promotion. I was first up for pay raises. I was first up for everything, because like with me, I'm 100% disabled. So it's like, I can't get a job without this kind of work. And for the longest time, this is what kept me from having to claim medical or anything. And it's like, you're right. That incentivization where they were like, they didn't care how much money they really spent on disabled people, as long as the regular people combined with the disabled people could get the work done, and they could keep the regular people down low. Like I've seen some crazy people get hired that's like, what can you do? It's like, well, I can do a little bit here and there, but that's about it. And it's like, man, but they're getting something back.
It's like hiring a quadriplegic at a moving company, right? And and why would you do that? Well, I'll do that because I can find a job for them at some point that they can do, and I'll get some sort of tax subsidy for doing so, right? And now I'm using an extreme example, but this stuff,
it makes sense.
There's a reason for it.
He's got nothing he can really do but his mouth, and then it's like jobs like, we got that. Yeah, that's good enough.
So, and that's where we start getting into, there is good incentivization, because I think that we should take care of veterans, and we should take care of members who've served in the military. We should take care of disabled people and that kind of stuff. But, we often get into where we have powerful groups that grift that only see the profit side of it. And that's where, the incentivizations have to be sorted out. I do think I'm pretty confident that they will be over time. I think this is the correct administration to do so, at least as it currently stands, with the makeup of the various factions that don't necessarily agree with each other within this incoming administration. I mean, you literally got a bunch of Democrats turned Republicans, and maybe a Republican here or there that are like kind of at the top of that chain. And they don't all share the same ideals. And I think that's good. As long as they don't, oust themselves via being complete jackasses, I think that they can get things done. What that remains to be seen, as always.
Yeah.
But, there seems to be, in general, for myself personally, I can't speak for anyone else, of course, I'm okay with the people that he has been picking for various positions, right? Because we, at least from the outside view, have a good understanding of kind of where these people stand on those specific issues, whether it's RFK and health, whether it's Elon and government efficiency, or whether it's Tulsi Gabbard and the military-industrial complex and the intelligence agencies, all of them. So, there's, and then on down the line, specifically when it comes to like crypto, I'm not as big of a fan of David Sachs, but, I think that he splits the difference between being involved to the point where he understands the investment side of the crypto world, and involved in the investment side in the traditional market world. So I think he's at least good enough to bridge that gap. I don't think he's the best pick for crypto specifically, but he is Elon's friend after all, right? So there is a bit of quid pro quo, that is always going to inevitably happen just because of who we know. Who does who know that can do this job, kind of thing. But
when you're trying to build a team to like fix something, right? You would want it to be a knit team that will work well. So normally you want to find people who are close.
Yeah, and I wouldn't necessarily have staffed that position with Sachs, but you know, he has he's an opportunist when it came to crypto. He's not involved in the ethos side of things. He is a money guy. So that does, you know, that does concern me, but because he's a money guy and because he understands that the regulatory clarity side of things needs to be fixed, I think that, you know, I'm not like upset with that pick. I just don't think that he was the best guy for the job. But we'll see what happens, right?
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. Yeah,
New person in the group in the stream here named Mitch, and I'm not quite sure who it is. Hi, Mitch.
Hey guys, how you doing? It's Mitch XBT, Michael from the Flat Team. Michael sent me the invite. I thought I'd just hop on and say Happy New Year, g'day to everybody.
Hey, what's happening?
Not too much. Happy New Year, yeah.
Thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah, good to be here.
Yeah, Mike should be back soon. He was just going to grab something to eat.
Cool, too easy.
Yeah.
Don't mind me.
No worries, man. So how are things going over in Flat Earth Land?
I guess pretty good. It's, I don't know, we're working on a couple of things, but I think just trying to keep ourselves in check and not get too disheartened at sort of the STX price action and, you know, a bit of the, I don't know, not infighting, but there's obviously a lot of emotions floating around recently. So we're just trying to kind of keep our heads down, I guess, and just get on with things. It's been a bit hectic over the last, I don't know, couple of weeks. Christmas and New Year's, like holiday season, things have definitely sort of slowed down. Really just kind of getting back into things now over the next kind of couple of days. Silky's been away, I've been away. But yeah, just kind of getting back into the swing of things now and hopefully for a good 2025. Yeah.
Well, I think the price of SDX is what's driving a lot of the maybe I don't know how to term it. It's not really that people are upset, but it's more that people are pointing out where things could improve, right? Yeah. Maybe a few are actually upset here and there, but this is pretty typical of any kind of a drawdown. Like,
yeah, there are some people with legitimate gripes.
Oh yeah. No. I 100% agree, but typically you don't hear about that when the candles are all nice and green.
When the price is going up, yeah, exactly.
No, you're right, but I will tell you, so specifically the need for consistent fast blocks and a perp dex is a legitimate. It's just kind of been ongoing. This isn't new. This isn't frustration because the price is down. This is, and I don't know, maybe there's better communication going on somewhere else, but do we have any kind of idea whether there's a time frame for consistent fast blocks?
No, there is no. And we're not even sure when testnet's going to be back up. It's been 5 days, so.
Why is testnet down?
Well, here's the thing. We don't have answers for that. But what I will, and the reason why I say that these things typically come to a head when price is down is because they were problems that everyone knew about, and we've had all of these issues prior. This is not anything new, but the noise gets louder when the price is down.
Right.
Because people see that as a negative. Like when you see red in your portfolio, typically that's not a good sign, no matter how much money you've made over a long period of time.
Well, because you got used to that last number that was better than this number.
Yeah, I mean $3 to $1.50. That's a drawdown. That's a big drawdown, right? Yeah. So that is where the peak came in December. Right. And then now we're down at, $1.52. Right. And in terms of like, Bitcoin didn't peak until the second week of December, but it peaked at $108,000 and it's been dipping down to, $91,000, right? So that's a big drawdown too. But Stacks had a relatively larger drawdown. None of these things are actually abnormal for altcoins, right? This is perfectly normal, and it's actually right on time too. This happens typically every December, no matter what kind of market we're in, bull or bear. And I think the alt season, if these things get solved, the issues that have been brought to light again by many, if they are resolved when alt season actually does begin in earnest. Remember, Ethereum hasn't even broken its all-time high, and it's number 2, right? So when these things happen, it's going to be, I think that many, as long as they don't just band-aid these things, and there is, these things are addressed, I think that the price appreciation of Stacks, along with some of these platforms being able to launch what they want to launch, will bring a lot of eyes and make a lot of people happy.
Yeah, I agree, but I do think that there's, like you said, there are things that they could be doing better from a communication standpoint, in my opinion. And you just said, you didn't say from a communication standpoint. I'm saying that specifically is they need to do better. They could be. So these are problems that people are aware of, but they're not. There's no communication from Hero Systems or Trust Machines or the foundation out to the community about this. To saying nothing is worse than saying something, in my opinion. Right now, they need to be saying something like, "We're aware of this. This is what our plan is. This is what we're working on."
Yeah, no, I agree. These are all valid concerns, and I also have expressed my I don't know if you saw it the other day, but for about 2 days straight, at a certain specific point in time when I had some free time, there was big long walls of text from myself and others in there about this and what needs to be done, and where some of the shortcomings are.
Yeah. I mean, it's been ongoing for periodically for really like a couple months now, because Pete started freaking out reasonably. They've been planning this perp dex for a while, and if this was a problem that wasn't going to be resolved quickly, somebody should have let them know, because nobody didn't know that, right? I mean, this is a problem that Stacks knows about.
Yeah, well, I mean, decentralization, guys, which brings me to my argument that I was having, is that it's not really that decentralized. It's all the same players at the top. It's all VC money in the signers.
Yeah.
And this is, there is centralized entities that are handling these things. And which one of these entities should be in charge of communicating some of these things? And my feelings are that you have something called the Stacks Foundation that should be in charge of communication for everything that is going on in the ecosystem.
Right.
Because it's literally in their name.
Right. I think we need to create some kind of channel or group, which I think Rube said he was creating, but I haven't been added to it. For communications. So I don't know what that looks like really, but I think that we do need to have a channel and or some kind of consistent regular meeting with some of the community leaders and some of the people at the foundation, or some kind of group of people that represents that level, and we talk about what we're hearing from the community, and we kind of come up with, they tell us what they're doing, and we kind of figure out the messaging together to some degree. I mean,
is their code base locked or something?
No.
Is Stacks code base locked, so you guys don't see them making changes on their code? They don't do daily updates?
It's all open source stuff.
So that's the thing that I'm pointing out. Like, if it's open source, they should be doing daily or weekly updates. And it's possible, if it really is decentralized, and like, as in, like, they're not all in the same location, they might take like a general European holiday, which is sometimes 2 weeks, sometimes a month. Heck, I know some people
Right.
that take 2 months.
The,
So it's
that's-
possible they
that's
could
not
be on,
like down because they're on Christmas vacation.
yeah, like say
There's
it's a European
somewhere-
holiday, they might be off. They might have been off for like 2 weeks already, and they might still be off for another week or so.
But that exactly speaks to the point that I was making with some others in some various chats, and that is that it's not truly decentralized. It is a centralized
I
entity
meant
that is
as in
handling
like
these things.
location. If it's decentralized in location, they might want to take if it's being act like a major corporation, they might say, let's take a longer holiday for everybody
It's a
because
central
everybody's
group.
in different locations.
It's a central
I mean?
group. Yeah, no, I understand. But it's a central group. Therefore, because it is a central group, it is a centralized group where it's not everybody here is getting, access to make changes to mainnet and testnet, right?
And so anybody can make changes to mainnet, right?
In theory, but in practice, no.
Because that's the other thing is like,
realistic.
do you guys not have other coders in your ecosystem that can actually code stacks?
No, they can, but the fact of the matter is that there's these groups that are decentralized in their location and they're staffed groups and working groups, but they are the groups that are in control of this stuff, right? And those are the groups that need to be gone to and worked with and understand that they need a better streamlined way in which they can communicate. Because in many cases some of these groups are corporations, right? And it doesn't matter if they're for profit or non-profit. They're still corporations or centralized entities that the community can go to and should be going to say, hey, let's clean up communication here, and who should be in charge of that? Like, ask the hard questions.
I'll be dead honest with you, man. This sounds more and more. The more you talk, sounds like more reason why people should not be involved in stacks. Sounds kind of like the opposite of a FOSS kind of situation. It's super.
Yeah, but this is every single blockchain, right? You still have a central. Anybody can contribute to BIPs, for instance, on Bitcoin, but there's a centralized group that's controlling the PRs.
It's not a centralized group that actually controls Bitcoin. Like a lot of the GitHub gets changed because the network changed, not because the GitHub changed. Like only a small percentage ever came from the GitHub actually changing.
But
the code base doesn't matter because the miners choose what code gets used. And that's my point. So far, there's only been like 25% of the changes in Bitcoin because of code base. Everything else was changed by people in the system saying, hey, I'm just going to change my miner situation. And back in the day, that's how people used to do. They used to just go, hey, guys, here's my new miner config. Check it out. Tell me if you like it. And people would just try it out, and it would propagate.
You can make.
That's why I'm asking why you guys don't just do that in stacks. If you guys are not
there is a process for that stuff, just like on Bitcoin, is my point to you. But there is still centralized. There's still a group.
Change your miner, change your node, and if others like it, they'll do it too. Like, you don't actually have to do anything to the code base in Bitcoin, which is what confuses me. Like I see some people doing stuff in Monero, and they don't do nothing to the code base. They made all private stuff, and it goes public, and then it works, and then the main people go, hey, we like that, but it already works with it, and so just more people do it, and then boom, it becomes a natural thing.
I understand.
Higher ring signatures and.
Let's pull it back for a second, because there's something I think that you're missing with Bitcoin, is that no, I cannot just do and run any code base for Bitcoin on my miners and have consensus with the network. I have to adhere to some pretty strict baseline levels that have been implemented within Bitcoin Core to actually meet consensus standards on the Bitcoin network. And there's a very small working group of people that contribute to that code base right now. Anyone can contribute, but getting consensus for upgrades to the network like Taproot, that of course is something that has to be implemented, and then we have to see adoption, right?
Well, that was adoption first. Remember,
no,
Taproot went in early. Taproot was supposed to go in a certain time and went in early because people started just using it. That's the thing. Like, you might not get consensus at first. there's been tons of times where people do stuff, they don't get consensus, they change and they try and they change and they try until they start getting some that start working with the system. And then more people propagate to that point, which then you can then change your propagation some until you're hitting that outer bound a bit more.
Okay, Taproot did not go in early. I was actually pretty involved in this because I run a ton of Bitcoin miners. What happened was when they upgraded Bitcoin Core is when Taproot went live, because there was already consensus across those running Bitcoin Core.
But wasn't there a different time route that it was actually supposed to go in place? Like they had predetermined it was going to go in at a later date, but it actually came in an earlier block?
Well, that's okay. This is a
true statement, right?
No, it's not. It came in earlier in terms of date. It went in on the block. It launched on the block. It was
okay. Yeah, right. But it still was earlier in date, but yeah. It was supposed to be
the block that it was set to launch on, it launched on, and that's because it was testnetted all the shit, man. We testnetted Taproot for a long, long time, and that's where, you know, when this is the same thing, you know, that we're looking at with systems like Stacks. It is decentralized. Anyone can start up a different explorer that's indexing and runs, but who actually has the power, right? Who's going to gain consensus to do that?
It normally just starts with one person, and that's why I'm saying, like, you guys are saying you guys are not getting anything from these people. Then why not just start your own and start, like, even if you have like a completely split, you start your own new stacks. Like, so what? Like, that's why we got
you need the top movers to
other things. You know, dark
need the signers. You need the top movers to move, just like in the Bitcoin world. You need the top movers to move first and start to curry that investment.
Well, Darkcoin did not start from big movers moving first. That was from like one guy going, no, I have a better idea for a more private Bitcoin. And he just popped it up. And then people were like, hey, I think that's good. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Why don't you guys just split it if you have to split it?
Because
I don't think that's
not viable.
That's not the move right now.
You're saying that Stacks can't actually fork? Is that what you're saying?
No,
there can't be an actual fork in Stacks?
That's not the issue.
Yeah,
we're not looking to fork. We're just looking for better communications from the guys that are developing.
And that's my point, bro. If they're not communicating with you, they're not going to get better at it.
They're not communicating. They're just not communicating well from a tactical.
That's probably on purpose. The less they have to talk to you guys, the less they have to tell you, the less they actually have to communicate with each other.
I think
so they can have individual people doing what they're told to do and not have to worry about communicating.
Of determining that.
They just don't realize that they weren't aware of the problem to the extent that they have it, because they've been delivering on a number of cool things, and they've been so focused on these things that they kind of had missed some of the other stuff involved in that. The
normal pain points in a growing.
Now I'm with my friend. Let's fork this whole thing. Who's with us?
No. Look, here's the thing: you need a lot of money and a lot of
like why you're going to be like so like upset that these people are having poor communication with you for such a long time, and it's it's probably on purpose. If it's not because they're on holiday or anything, then it's probably just on purpose. Like, not communicating is the easiest factor to do. I think one of you guys actually kind of hinted at it. It's easier to not say a dang thing to actually get together, communicate, plan up, figure out, get a lawyer to make sure it's going to be okay sometimes.
If you're delivering.
Right. And so if you are just not saying anything,
here's the thing.
It might be on purpose.
Hold on.
I think like Monero maybe quite often.
Let me explain something real quick here.
Quite often.
They've been delivering on the things that they said they were going to deliver on. They've been very communicative about those things that they were delivering
on. Errors and these problems you guys are experiencing.
Hold on a second.
Listen, right?
No. These things are new things. These are new things that
you guys have been having problems for multiple months.
There are things.
Was that what it was? At least a month, or for over a month?
Communication, getting direct communication with the people that we would like to get communication with has been difficult for many months.
And that is my point. And then you guys also been having problems with something in Stacks for at least over a month that you guys even said they did know about, but because they were busy doing other things other than important fixes, probably, it sounds like miscommunication. sounds like
Yes,
purposeful
but that's-
miscommunication because they already had a plan and they went,
I
well,
don't think
we've
it's
got a plan, do the
purposeful.
plan, stick to
I
the
don't
plan.
think it's purposeful. Yeah, no.
No, I think it's a.
I think it's purposeful.
It's
to
more of
stick
a
to
missed
plan.
opportunity.
Yeah, this is. I think it's being conflated with something much more serious.
I really don't. To be honest, I'm just asking questions because the more I ask questions, the more you guys give information out. You guys were repeating the same thing for about 5 minutes, and now I've gotten you guys to say at least 2 or 3 more factors I haven't heard yet.
Yeah. As the resident H1B who's only here to take over organizations, I agree with our friend here. We should do the fork.
Yeah, good luck. The fork will fail.
Well, that's okay. I want to know why will it fail? Is
I
it just
thought
going
you-
to fail
I
from
thought you were gonna
adoption?
join us,
Because
man.
there's there would not be any adoption. That's why.
So technically, it would be
Who's
viable
listening?
or possible.
Technically, anything is possible. I can fork any network.
Well, no. Wait. You can fork ETH.
Yes.
Does ETH have a bomb put in their code to prevent some forking?
No, I can fork ETH. How do you think we get all these layer 2s? They're literally taking ETH-based code and interoperability and building networks on top
Yeah,
of it.
that's what Quorum was, right?
Yeah, that's you
Was
can
when
fork
did
any
the
one of
ETH
these
code bomb
networks.
get put in place?
So you're saying you're not going to join me in this fork?
No,
Let me see. What was that? 2022. The
Yeah.
difficulty bomb delayed.
that's not a fork prevention bomb.
Guys, we could launch this fork on
That's
New
what I
Year's
was
Eve.
asking. Because like
Not a
there was a
fork
lot of people
prevention
saying it was. There was a lot of people saying,
Yeah, but
"Hey,
that's
look,
a lot
I
of
don't think
people
we
who
could
don't know
try
how
to
networks
fork it,
work.
man. You gotta
15
solve
minutes,
the
dude.
problem." And that's why I'm asking you these questions because there are people right now probably watching, going, "Wait a minute, I might actually be able to do what he's saying. I might." So
And
they're going, "Wait a
they
minute, is it
welcome it.
possible though?"
But
Yeah.
here's
I'm
the
not.
thing:
I don't
It
give a
is-
shit about stacks.
it
I
is
don't
technically
care about
possible.
stacks.
technically possible, of course, but is it viable? Anything is possible, but is it viable?
Viable
That's
only
the
matters
real-
in time. I remember when Bitcoin started. When I first started in Bitcoin, the person who sent me the thing was like, "Bro, I'm just going to send you this for payment." And I was like, "Okay." I wasn't
But
asking if
you're
it's viable. I was
conflating
like, "Can
two
I use it
different things.
today? Can I use it tomorrow?" And they were like, "I guess." I'm using it on
Let me give
you.
you a layout here. Hold on a second.
Yeah, but it turns out Bitcoin was viable.
Yes, and Bitcoin
Only
was
in
also
time.
early
Do you know how
enough.
many times I've been in ones that weren't viable? I was in Hashcash, bro, and that wasn't really viable. You
Yeah.
know, do you know
Or-
the original
Why is
looter
it
coins weren't viable? The original color coins weren't viable. The original feather coin wasn't viable. I was in all of that too. But you know
Mhm.
what? There was a lot of other people with me. And that's my point, is there could be at least one person who has at least some technical whatever or might want to try to learn. And the more information you can give them other than just excuses is going to be really helpful, because that's really what I'm wondering. I'm like, bro, I do have
Listen,
an extra miner in
everyone-
the basement that I could turn
Yes.
on. I do have I do have a stack of like microcomputers. I have a super microcomputer beside me that does
Nice.
network handling for me. I got a Parallelas, which is what that one is. If you could give me enough, I don't even give a shit about Stacks. I've been telling people for years, Stacks sucks. I've been said for years it's centralized. I've heard from you for the first time say it is centralized in some nature. And it's like, bro,
But
I'm so glad I
everything is
never got
centralized
into
in
it.
Listen.
Yeah,
the working group for
everything is
Bitcoin is
centralized.
centralized in a nature as well. You could even make the argument that Bitcoin is centralized because of the hash rate and the templating.
I disagree, because it's not just
And-
hash rate, it's also the percentage of the miners. It's 51% of hash rate and
Do you
miners
understand
according to
templating?
the code.
Do you
What?
understand the templates? All of the templating in Bitcoin, for instance, I run Bitcoin miners. I run
Happy
a lot
New
of
Year,
You
gentlemen.
know, bro.
Happy New Year.
New Year.
guys.
Happy New Year.
But Happy New Year. It is officially New Year's. For some of you, not for me yet.
So we're doing the fork.
No,
Oh,
obviously not. But the big thing is there is always centralized entities within decentralized systems.
Hold
That
on.
is my
Oh, Bitcoin has proven that it doesn't matter if you're decentralized enough.
If we fork it,
but you have to grow
then
to
we have
decentralized.
twice as many stacks.
Yeah, no,
Ooh.
that's
What
Yeah,
you
about
have
stonks?
stacks that is
Good
worth
point.
nothing and stacks that is
Stonks?
worth something.
It is worth something at the very beginning, and that was what made a lot of people money with the big BCH and the the big Bitcoin
Bitcoin's Satoshi
separation.
vision by the true Satoshi.
Because
Craig Wright.
there was
Yes,
only like 4 major splits that I remember where people were like, "Oh, they made a lot of money off it." Like Darkcoin was definitely one, but not first. And then BCH and STX, and then not STX, BVSV,
BSV.
and there was still another one. There was
One
still another
true.
one. It would have been before BCH though, where there was a Bitcoin split. People just took it and dumped it. They just dumped it as fast as they could, and a lot of people made a little bit of money. But that was also back when like we were building exchanges through things, and people were still running web, like they were still running websites on their nodes and things like that.
Yeah, I think the point that I was just trying to make here is that there are centralized entities within decentralized networks everywhere, including Bitcoin at this point. And that means that there are points of contact, even within Bitcoin, where you can go and talk to developers of Bitcoin Core, the working group there, and you can have conversations with them, and they're very communicative. Sometimes they go dark for long periods of time. Hello, Bitcoin.
When they're coding,
420. Well, that's the same thing that's currently occurring with Stacks, is they've been head down working and coding, and it has been difficult to get a hold of them.
Even during you said Bitcoin 420, we still had people on Twitter saying stuff. We still had people going, "Hey, I'm in the middle of doing something. I just got done doing an 18-hour code stream."
And 420 is the.
Oh no, my bad. I thought you said something else. I thought you meant when like a lot of coders went dark because of the because they went partying for 420.
No,
I did not realize you said
that's
Bit
when
420.
they went dark.
420 is the
that's when they went to go
proposal. And there's a group, a centralized group that has a centralized core of people who are pushing it via decentralization.
Bro,
and putting pressure on the core
was
team.
A centralized core of people pushing.
Listen, hold on, let me finish. Let me finish.
Why do I have to let you finish? I already know what you're going to say. Not partly.
You don't know what I was going to say.
You're right.
The Bitcoin Core team has been unresponsive in having any discussions about it to this point. Publicly, they have been having discussions. Yes, and they have been having discussions, obviously behind the scenes. They're aware of the BIP. They obviously have acknowledged that it's there, and obviously it is up to not just them but the community to actually determine adoption via consensus. But they would have to implement it, right? The core team would have to implement it into. Yes,
you can actually get enough miners to just do it, because that's how it's written in Bitcoin. It's not written in Bitcoin that has to go through anything.
How code works.
You just have to get enough of the miners to change the configuration, enough to nodes to all go. Yeah, sure, all connect.
That's the same with Stacks though too. Like you don't actually have
to. That's my point.
If
that's so true, then why don't you guys just have people do
a contract and do whatever? But
we are. That's the point. We are doing that.
Whoa! That took. How long have we been saying this that it took you to actually say that statement?
Well, that's what I've been trying to tell you. Is that is I'm trying to reframe it so that you at least understand that.
Man. Sometimes you just got to be blunt and say, man, there's people doing stuff on the side of the main people, but you're not saying anything either. Go ahead.
You aren't letting me talk. You're talking over me. That's why you didn't hear it. But what I was trying to say is this is a normal issue that comes up with any type of Web3 development.
You already said that part, man. That doesn't matter.
Yes, actually it does, because it's not a matter of forking the network. We're not at that point. So you asked about that, and we wouldn't be at that point unless there were like a failure within the system to actually get things done. And things have been getting done. It's just a matter of we want a little bit more communication as a community. That's it.
Right. And I think that's proof of why it's a problem.
Stacks is a lot closer along to having a live perp deck than Bitcoin proper.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So
but that's what we're talking about here, that we're pertaining to Stacks. That's what's going on is the upgrade.
The thing that you're talking about really don't matter. My point is, you guys are saying long communication error with
the matter to what point?
You guys are saying long communication error with the dev with team, and people who are controlling things. But yet, I don't hear anybody saying, well, there's some group trying to build a solution for it, and they're trying to see if they can figure out why we're not hearing anything. I don't hear you guys saying anything like that. I don't hear you guys saying anybody's working on the side to do their own thing to solve the solution.
Core devs that are capable of solving the problem.
Why do you guys just worry about them? Like, that's it? Like, bro, come on. That's the whole point of decentralization. It's like everybody should be just pitching in.
I don't actually understand what the issue is.
I don't care what the issue is, to be honest, bro. I don't, that doesn't, like, I'm listening to people complain about not being able to talk to devs instead of just being like, let's get some people together who might be able to figure out the problem while the devs aren't talking to us.
Devs that have built something just like devs on Bitcoin.
Man.
And in order to implement it, there's things that need to be done. And there is always in decentralized infrastructures and systems, there is going to be a little bit of a longer tail when it comes to communicating. That is currently the issue. It's not actually as big of an issue as I think you believe it is. These are things that
I don't have any belief in it. I'm only going based off what you guys are saying right now.
Right. There is
but you kind of ran with it.
There is a communication.
Yeah, that's all I have.
But it's
you guys are making it sound really bad.
No,
that's how you guys are making it sound.
You kind of ran with it.
That's how you guys are making it sound. Like, you guys were really going out. I sat here and waited and listened, and I kept going like this because I wanted to say something.
I don't know how much listening you were doing, but you definitely were here.
You know, but I was definitely listening. And I was like, whoa, I didn't realize all this was going on. I heard nothing. I've only heard positive things about Sachs ever. And I have
because it's great
negative things to people. And I heard you guys say some of the most negative points about Sachs I have ever. I'm like,
no.
Whoa, what the fuck?
Communication issues aren't the most negative thing you will ever hear about a network. Let's look at Cardano. Where are those smart contracts? There's an actual. Oh,
you actually thought Cardano was going to go somewhere other than that guy's pocket? Come on. Same thing with ETH. It was not really meant to go anywhere other than AWS's pocket.
Yeah, but my point to you is there's levels to this game. If it was just that there was a communication issue and a little hiccup here that we were trying to get sorted out versus, hey, this thing has gone on for years without smart contracts. No, we actually have valid development. There's a robust ecosystem. Like, there is a decentralized Bitcoin wrapper.
Your guys' entire chain runs off of another entire chain.
It doesn't. It relies on the other chain for security. It does not run on Bitcoin.
My bad. You're relying on another chain to be secure.
Yeah, that's every single chain that connects with Bitcoin. Yeah.
No, there are some chains that only connect to Bitcoin to trade to Bitcoin, like Monero. Like, there are tons of chains that have nothing to do with
a bridge.
Bitcoin.
That's not a chain.
Monero doesn't have any smart contracts.
Monero did implement
had the possibility for smart contracts for a very long time. A man-made city of Dondolo, which actually built a game with Monero, would actually had actual assets on Monero that you could actually trade for them. And, that was going great until he passed away and the entire project died because he was the sole owner of that entire project.
Yeah, centralized entity.
And Dondolo is still on Twitter. Yeah.
Go figure.
Felty, Mr. Felty 256.
Yeah. Well, then you also have like CoreDAO, which relies on Bitcoin for security via the op return command.
You don't
right?
see me there either, bro. Yeah, you're not making a much better claim for yourself, man. Is Litecoin rely on Bitcoin?
You understand what CoreDAO is?
Litecoin rely on Bitcoin?
Do you know what CoreDAO is?
Litecoin rely on Bitcoin Mimblewimble? No. Oh, that's right. Does Feathercoin rely on Bitcoin? No. Does Feathercoin rely on Litecoin? No.
Do you know how many layer 2s there are that rely on ETH? The Stacks is a layer 2. CoreDAO is a layer 2.
So
that runs on their network.
And I make fun of those all in the same way.
I say we abolish all layers.
Well,
it's just a single layer. Goes layer 0. Boom, done. Roasted.
Yeah.
And what does layer 0 rely on?
Its own chain. It is the chain. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
and
a database.
What does it communicate with? In order to
you can just communicate with hashes if you want, bro.
Compatibility?
You can just communicate with hashes if you want. Like, I got private paper that all hash communication.
How does it settle on all the other chains then? Wouldn't it be reliant on those chains to settle on them?
It depends what kind of chain you're talking about. If you're talking about a self-indulgent chain, it is its own chain. One hash is the entire chain.
I like that. Self-indulgent chain.
Yeah,
Huh?
and Stacks
Yeah,
Stacks has its own chain as well.
pvt.app/WRITE.
DAO has
That
its
would be
own
If
chain
you
as
can
well.
load it, you can see it.
Like
All right,
this
guys,
is
I do have to give you guys a short warning. Well, we're gonna wrap it up soon. I told my sister
I'm gonna
past midnight.
yeah, I'm gonna this fake, bro. I'm gonna go make some coffee real fast. You guys have fun. We'll be right back.
All right.
yeah.
Douglas, thank you, man. Thanks for tuning in. Happy
That
New
was
Year.
my favorite show ever. You gotta do more of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think-
Spicy.
I think maybe we'll start doing some kind of like weekly evening show, like a couple hours, just kind of doing like.
I mean, like the catharsis space, you know?
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for joining me tonight. Happy
it was
New Year
great.
to you. And always a pleasure. Great conversations. I definitely think we need to do more of this kind of stuff, actually. Just a little bit of a different format with nothing specific to talk about. Just a bunch of people kind of getting together, a group of people getting together and just kicking around some ideas. I think that was this was good.
Yeah. Silly ideas aside, yeah, I agree.
Look, I think the silly ideas, like the entertainment value of that is amazing. Does it make sense?
Yeah,
Like, to me,
I
I'm watching
understand.
it. Watching it. I'm like, I don't really care who's right. I just enjoy that. So of all of the times maybe it's just because I'm fucked in the head, but of all the times I've had PeaceLoveMusic, we've talked about a lot of smart things. That was one of my favorites, and I'm not sure if the audience might agree. You know, right?
I've gotten a few DMs.
Because it's like a slap fight with tortillas.
Yeah, well, somebody's got the Infinity Stones over here, and
I think they're going into the pipe right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, when it comes to these things, I think that many people have this this idea that decentralization is purely everything decentralized, and not understanding that centralized entities form within decentralized
Decentralization
ecosystems.
is not chaos. There's a
Yeah.
difference. I remember
There's still
looking at,
order.
I remember looking at the growth of like mycorrhizal or mycelium networks and how they relate to forests. And to my surprise, it turns out that even in a forest, where you think, okay, a decentralized thing, right, a forest, there are still mother trees that coordinate resources to shrubs that cannot reach the sunlight.
Mm-hmm.
So even in nature, there are centralized trees that help disseminate tokens of minerals and, chlorophyll energy to other shrubs. So even in nature, we have this existence.
Yeah. And look, I think that one of the biggest things in these ecosystems that for people to understand is that when you're knee deep in the middle of development and you're building in an ecosystem, that you have to always be forward looking, but also be realistic in that you can only work within the confines of what actually exists in the network itself at that particular point in time. Right. So if you build to that with an eye on upgradability into the future, you can stay solvent. And I think, the biggest thing that upsets people in various ecosystems when things aren't happening immediately is that that when there are centralized entities within the decentralized ecosystem, if they have an outsized portion of control and become uncommunicative, for whatever the reason might be, and they could be perfectly valid reasons, right? And then there's invalid reasons, and that's up to each individual to determine. But that you still have the network, and you only have the network in which you can operate at that current state until it is changed via consensus mechanisms or votes or whatever it might be. Like if I'm going to build in the Bitcoin on layer 1 and I want to build an AMM, and I don't currently have a way in which to implement that without certain factors being considered that aren't available on that network at that particular point in time, right? Now, obviously, there's the consistent block times. That's been a hot topic, right? They're fast, but they're not consistently fast, right? With a minimum threshold for time and block closes. This is where they did communicate the time frame in which they were going to be working on this was going to bleed out into Q1 of this coming year. But they have not been responsive to the people who have wanted to see that communication maybe improve in the meantime.
Happy New Year, man.
Look
hey,
at
hey,
that.
how's it going?
It's the honey badger.
Hey, what's going on?
Happy New Year. No, I just heard y'all talking stacks. Just wanted to come and hang for a bit.
I think someone's putting forth the idea of forking stacks, but Lanny can tell you more about that.
Oh yeah. So turns out I've been nominated to fork stacks.
Yes.
As Michael has just nominated me at this very moment.
Moist stacks.
Moist stacks. You know what? That might be a banger of a network.
Wait a minute. Because then the old stacks could be dry stacks.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I like it.
Polarities are creative.
Well, here's my pitch for you doing it, Peace. Is you could fork it and it could be dry sock stacks or dry stacks, or fresh stacks, right? It's a fresh take on stacks.
Fresh stacks.
Yeah.
And it could be
I wanted to
converted to the price of stacks somehow, right?
I wanted to get feedback on audio. I'm trying a new headset. Is everything sounding okay?
It sounds great.
Perfect.
Good.
All right, wonderful.
Sounds just like Spaces.
Oh, okay. So it's not an improvement. So instead of using
actually,
AirPods, I'm using
might be
AirPods
better.
Maxes. What's
Yeah,
that?
no, actually, it probably is a little bit clearer. You
Okay.
always seem to have a good. My recollection is that you tend to have good audio, though.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Well, yeah, no, you sound fine.
Sometimes people have terrible. Like some people get just bad audio, you know.
Yeah, they're just speaking directly into their phone.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, progressive decentralization is always going to be an Oregon Trail. You know, I struggle to launch a website, and who am I to complain about somebody that is trying to fix a blockchain? As if I'm going to be able to step in there and be like, hey guys, I got it.
Well, the funny part is, I was going to say that the funny part is every single one of these networks, Bitcoin included, started out highly centralized.
Yeah.
Right?
How else would they start?
They have to.
Right.
Unless you know of another way to start something that I don't know of.
Yeah.
Like you just spore an idea. Like
Yeah, and then everybody immediately gets it.
I don't have a lack of faith that the team at Stacks, the core devs and the core entities, are capable of doing what they need to do. I think that they've achieved some amazing things, that they're doing some really great stuff. The whole thing is about communication, where a lot of the sentiment that's happened in the last few weeks could have been mitigated at least some, not entirely, but more than it.
So they need like they need like the White House press secretary to come out every day.
They need they need press releases. They need a public relations department, like an actual someone handling that regularly.
Because I'd love to see a press conference with our friend, like lobbing like all these questions with me. I would pay to see that shit.
But what about Monero?
I'm taking in touch with the devs.
No, I heard it. I heard that part, and I was like, I need to get in here, but I missed it.
It's the greatest show ever on DeOrganized for New Year's.
But Landy can maintain his composure, and the guy was getting super energetic. And it's like, man, like, tell me you don't know about stacks without telling me you don't know about stacks. You know what I'm saying?
This is not Landy's first time, I think, having this conversation.
Absolutely.
No, it was just that he was getting more overly energetic about it.
I don't think it's overly. It's beautiful. Immaculate.
Look,
it seemed to get in the way.
I've been around the blockchain for a while, and you know, one of the core arguments when Ethereum came out is that Ethereum was going to be the Bitcoin killer, right? And obviously, being a Bitcoin guy first, I always dismissed that argument by the team. And a lot forget that Ethereum, that many of the core Ethereum developers worked on Bitcoin as well. And it was always an interesting thing. Like when Ethereum got booted up, you know, obviously I got involved in the ecosystem as well. And, you know, these topics and the decentralization versus centralization versus centralized entities on decentralized networks is always a hot topic. Forking is always a hot topic. You know, I've given my opinion. I think that Honey Badger knows this very well, is that every single chain that has launched since Bitcoin is just a vector to try and get more Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
And that is proven out to be true over time. Now, of course, if you're the quote unquote the face or the head of that particular chain, you're obviously not going to advertise that is the fact, and you're going to stick with being a maxi in that chain and pushing that chain forward. But even Vitalik still understands the importance and place for Bitcoin.
Yeah, he was the editor of Bitcoin magazine, no?
Yeah,
He started
he's a Bitcoin guy. The reason that that he wanted to build Ethereum was because he wanted smart contract functionality. He
Right.
would like that was the whole fucking point. And he even knew at the time, and this is where there was hot debate within that team, is he knew at the time, and it's the same for Charles, by the way. I just talked to Charles the other day on the night show. I got a chance to pick his brain, and you know, he actually gave props to Stacks because he recognized, you know, game recognizes game. He was a Bitcoin core contributor. He was obviously co-founder of Ethereum, and then founder of Cardano, right? And you know, one of the biggest criticisms of him has been the failure to deliver a working smart contract network over there. And more often that they conflate that with him being a scammer and so on and so forth. I haven't always had the best opinion of the guy, but he's definitely brilliant. And any kind of a new network that starts up, one of the reasons why he was called a scammer when he started Cardano is because like IOHK held the majority of Cardano, right? So, and that's since been decentralized over time. So, to the level that people want and are comfortable with, that's where everybody makes their own personal decisions on what they want to invest in. But, you know, it's this debate won't ever go away on Stacks or any other network. And it's not unique to Stacks either. Like there's other very highly centralized networks where there's just one core team doing everything. And they're a for-profit team in many cases. So it's a matter of what's up. Who do we have on stage here?
Beach Cheek. I'm not sure who it is.
Hey, what's going on, Beat?
So a friend of
What's
yours.
up?
You'll know his
Happy New
voice.
Year's, everyone.
Happy New Year's.
Doing well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What's up, man?
Hanging out.
Hey, Beat, we're forking Stacks and calling them stonks.
There you go. I'm spinning up my
You're gonna spin up a node? Teach me how. I don't know how yet.
Look at this
We need to spin
H1
up an Eliza to
over
do it.
here.
Yeah.
Talking about
well,
forking Stacks.
the H1B move is to fork it and become a CEO. That's what Indians do to corporations, right? But does it work when the CEO is brown initially? Like this is H1B chain, no?
You know, I don't know, but I love that mask.
That's a sick mask.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. That's perfect.
Ah, yes. How'd you get in?
That's perfect.
You bloody bastard. You know what you do. You kicked my chain.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I mean, you could just, you know, I guess put a white guy in your place first and then just shadow run it. Right? And then just you get more H1Bs in to run it in the background, you know, and build everything out. We could potentially outsource technical support and customer service.
Well, if Indians are coming in the country, is that insourcing technical support?
That is insourcing it, yeah. It's directly insourcing it. Places like Alabama for minimum wage at $9 an hour.
Now when
because
the
it's
Indian
more
says he's
expensive to outsource it at that point.
now when the Indian says he's from Alabama, he's actually in Alabama.
Hello, this is Michael from Alabama. You're like,
Alabama. You don't
oh, you're
believe me?
actually
Come
in
on.
Alabama. Holy shit.
How dare you? I can vote like you. Yeah. I voted for Trump, but look like Kamala.
Oh man, Michael, I freaking love you, dude.
Hey, Peace, we're holding you hostage. I know.
Yeah, I know.
It's late for you.
Poor
It's
guy.
like 4 hours past your
Badger,
bedtime.
Honey Badger wanted to come on, and
I love it.
Put it all on the Badger.
It's all the Badger's fault.
I was getting ready to wrap up, and I noticed a DM from him. He's like, "Oh, can I come on your show?" I was like, "How am I gonna say no?"
I mean, it's the best time, and my 4-year-old, she's still up and hanging out. We watched the New York thing that everybody watches,
how was that?
and then it was same as every year, and then we stopped watching it after it was over. But it was good for the kids, you know. They enjoy watching it. And then I did a New Year's post, and then now I'm hanging out with her for a bit and hanging out with you guys. It's a good time. 2025 is here, and I'm bullish on Q1. I feel like we ended off the year really good. We ended off above 92,000, which is awesome. You know, historically, 2017 Q1 was hot. 2021 Q1 was hot. So I think 2025 has the opportunity to be hot too. And you know, people look at ETH back in the day, it was pretty asymmetrical. It was bringing smart contracts, but now we have stacks, and that's going to be smart contracts on Bitcoin, secured by Bitcoin, with fast blocks and SBTC that's backed by 1,000 BTC that was put on chain. You know, we're at a $2 billion market cap, so I see plenty of potential asymmetry. And I eat FUD for breakfast, and I love buying discounts. So bring it on, 2025. It's going to be amazing.
Hell yeah.
I think we're going to look at this as a really great reaccumulation phase for stacks.
I agree. I think that there's a lot of crypto in this position right now. You know, I mean, Fartcoin, man, I don't know if you look at that chart, but Fartcoin had a drawdown of over 50% today, and I'm feeling really, really disappointed. I think communication from the development team has been very, very poor.
Feels like they're shitting all over us, really.
Like, yeah, I see a collaboration opportunity here. So why can't it be Moist Fart Coin?
Oh,
you're talking about sharks.
No. Shark coin. You're talking about
well, that would be the ticker. The ticker would be Shart, but the name of the coin would be Moist Fart.
Oh God,
I think that would
love it. I love it. Pump this shit out of it.
Yes.
Oh
Then
God,
you really have to get fresh.
yeah. Oh God, yeah. You're not kidding.
I like the e-commerce options because you could sell bidets, toilet paper, like the e-commerce side. Dr. Rocky, the merchandise.
Fresh underwear.
The picture would be a guy blushing too, because it's like one of the ones that you didn't expect.
Yep.
And then you could have underwear with shark protection.
Yep. Yeah.
Right.
Shart insurance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad somebody else said it too. Oh boy.
That's
See,
brilliant.
this is the perfect conversations for midnight. This is when the shenanigans come out. I'm talking to my friends. Do you want to say hi?
Hi, Happy New Year.
Yeah,
Hi,
my
Hi.
4-year-old's listening
Happy
to
New
my
Year.
bathroom
Better know.
conversations.
Go to
She's like,
bed.
But honey badger,
yeah,
the ticker, right?
yep. Honey
Congrats
Badger
for launching that. That was a
DGAF.
big year for you.
Oh man.
You launched it before Stack City was cool, kind of.
I know,
Yeah.
and then right around there, the charisma stuff happened, and I was like, oh, okay, here comes some controversy that I had no intention.
Oh man.
I saw some snow.
You see some snow?
No.
Yeah, we saw the.
Oh, you saw the hail, baby.
It was snowing outside, Daddy.
Yeah. We got like a big round of hail, and then there was like a double rainbow afterwards when the sun came through.
Oh.
It was really cool.
Daddy, I saw
You know,
snow.
I'm gonna provide a
baby?
little bit of context here. So since the lows came in for stacks in 2023, same time that the lows came in for Bitcoin, it's up 1,785%. And everyone is very, very upset about this 63% drawdown.
It's not good enough. It's
Ah.
never going to be good enough. Like people are complaining about the price of stuff at $100,000 Bitcoin. It means
Yeah.
you're not gonna. We can't save anyone.
Yeah, basically.
Can you imagine?
Well, people are
people
complaining
complaining-
about $93,000 Bitcoin right now, which I think is hilarious.
What could
Right.
possibly satisfy anyone at this point?
Yeah, I don't know. You got literally since the beginning of 2023 straight up and to the right on most every single chart, with a few exceptions here and there.
You've had
And
a
people
year
still will find
Christmas.
something to be upset about.
A lot of people weren't here then.
That's true. That's true.
Whose
They
fault is
bought
that?
$100,000 Bitcoin. That's why they're
Yeah,
they're sad.
Right, they bought $100,000 Bitcoin.
Sounds like a them problem.
Yeah, it does.
You know what? In 5 years, it won't be if they just don't.
Mhm.
fuck
Oh no,
themselves.
the people's capacity for complaining is unlimited. Yeah.
It will be
fun.
5 years of complaining until they're like, "Wee."
Yep, they
And
won't.
then they'll be like, "Can we fork Sharts?" You know what I mean? Because Sharts
Yeah.
is now like, right?
Yeah. Shark coin. We have to fork it. I
Mhm.
don't know what the
Not touching that anymore.
oh god. Fart coin, shark coin. What do we have after that? I mean,
Well, we could
I
have
don't
like
even know.
localized models, like flatulence coin for like the hoity-toity crowd. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, this really makes me just want
For
to
the
convert
Lloyds of
that
London
account.
crowd. Yeah.
I really want to convert that account now. Eliza, come save my moist sock account so that we can
Yeah, let's
focus
run
on
one.
shark coin.
Moist is on a really good discount. Last time I checked, I think it was like 19K market cap or something like that.
Yeah.
It was a
Do
little
with
bit.
that
It's a little bit
information what
higher
you
than
will.
that.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's higher than that. But the reason why is varied across the ecosystem right now. Partly because of some of the people that were in some of the coins
Yeah.
that were in the ecosystem that maybe didn't last, let's say, more than once, and then had a remake of a coin, an RM coin, if you will, that then
Yeah.
you could buy.
Oh, the
And that-
trifecta you're referring to.
Yeah. And then that pulled down a lot of smaller coins like Fresh and Moist and Honey Badger and a few others. I think actually you were spared a little bit from that Honey Badger, but yeah, there's cool stuff coming though. So for those that want to get in, while the getting in's good, might want to think about that before new entrants from other ecosystems come over, because there is something at play behind the scenes. But that's just, neither here nor there. I will announce what is happening when I'm ready to announce it. I don't think it's the right time. I think maybe green candles would be the right time to announce it.
Yeah, right now is not probably the right time for much. It really isn't. It's gonna probably. What is the chart? you have any predictions for the short term, Landy?
Oh, short term, pretty straightforward. I mean,
Sideways?
everything's going to go the way the Bitcoin goes at the moment, and Bitcoin is in a bouncy area. It's just a matter of, can Bitcoin go back up and take out $100,000 right now, and set a low above 95, almost 96,000. Then that would look good. I think that Stacks is in a really good position right now at support. And in fact, Stacks is in a really attractive area for bidding, around the $1.50 range. It did drop down to the $1.40 range. And it's probably gearing up for a nice bounce. And then it's about whether or not it puts in a lower high, which it's very likely going to do on a closing basis. But the last closing lower high is at about $1.80 on a close. Last swing lower high is at about $1.66. And we just need to see a low set. And if a low is set, we're going to see that come on, closes above about $1.60. And that's when we can start looking to $1.70, $1.80 and above. If we get a structural change above $1.80, then we're looking for higher lows or equal lows. And that's where we need to see that $1.43 be hung on to on a closing basis. But it is in a bouncy area. It's definitely gearing up for a bounce here. It's just a matter of timing and setting a low. And then I think it initiates its bounce and tries to actually figure itself out. Same for Bitcoin. If it can close above $96,000, it'll set a low. Then we're looking for $100,000 as the next lower high to take out to the upside. Then we look for higher low, equal low structure. Otherwise, it's continuation to lower prices. Same for Stacks, right? But it's definitely looking as though they're in areas and zones of interest in which they could potentially bounce from here shortly. That remains to be seen, though, right? We still have a lot of professional traders that drive these markets forward. Whales inside of these ecosystems have taken a much smaller role and more relegated to the short-term timeframes. And that's where, when we actually see professionals come back after the holidays here, likely next week, not tomorrow, like they're all drunk as skunks and having fun and partying with family. And when they come back next week, that's when we're going to see, I think, direction being chosen, whether or not it's go up, get some liquidity and then head further down, or it's go up, set some higher lows and try to work ourselves back to our high side zones, particularly on Bitcoin. Stacks has a lot more to go, so it's going to take longer. Even if it does start entering an uptrend again on the daily, it's got some ground to make up, but so do all the alts, even Ethereum being the big one that everyone's paying attention to. It's got some work to do. Last lower high for Ethereum's at like 3550 or so, a little bit above there.
Killed against Bitcoin too. Absolutely.
What's that?
Ether Bitcoin is like just like murdered.
ETH got dropped 24%, and below its most recent high.
I'm hoping I can edit this whole episode together to be like a kind of thread of FUD that actually sends the price higher. Does that make sense?
Maybe.
Oh, I can FUD.
I need it. No, all right. I'm going to end it there.
We're going to FUD our way to the top.
No, it's about 20 minutes to 1. I told my sister I wouldn't go much past midnight. And I loved hanging out with you guys. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me tonight. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Very much. Landy, Michael, always a pleasure. GPSC, if you can hear me. I love you, brother. Chef, Honey Badger, I'm so glad you came up, man. And
Hey, thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us.
Love you too, man.
Badger, if you hadn't joined, we probably wouldn't have gone as long. So you helped squeeze a little bit more out of this for us. So I appreciate it.
Next time we won't start the fight without you. We'll have you like at the beginning.
Yeah, I gotta, listen, if you ever see a stream going, man, and you want to join, you're always welcome. I'm open. It's just a matter of getting my attention while I'm live. Sometimes sometimes there's conversations going on, and I'm like, oh, let me check my messages while these guys sort that out.
Yeah, Honey Badger ended up being the calmest guy on the stream today.
He's usually pretty calm.
Yeah, but like, you know what I mean? In the macro side of things.
Yeah.
I'm
Yep.
excited. It's like, you know, while you're waiting for the price to go up, Stacks just earns you Bitcoin. So it's really just wait and chill. It's no problem.
That's it.
Yeah, as a dev, I kind of want the prices to go lower. You know what I mean? It just makes it cheaper to test. Right, and do everything else. So
Easy to short.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't test if the test net's down.
Hey, you're talking like the other friend. I can't start that again.
Happy New Year, guys.
Happy
Happy
New
New
Year.
Year.
Coming out. I'm gonna end the stream. Peace out. Y'all have